Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to have a look at product lifecycle. If you have studied or are currently studying business studies, it's probably a term you've come across before as well. It is confused sometimes with cradle to grave, so when we're going through it I'll sort of identify the differences so you don't get a little bit too confused. And then what you need to be able to do really is like map out a product lifecycle of like a chosen product of your choice. So, to begin with, in reality, products don't stay on the market forever. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything that stayed as in its original form. Products develop over time. You never have the original that is still being sold. Yes, you might have like vintage products that sort of make a comeback, but the reality is most products have gone through some sort of change in development as they've gone on. The life cycle of a product usually goes through 4 stages. There's like 4.5 stages, which we'll talk through in the next couple of slides. Companies need to try and plan this out as carefully as possible so that they can release their products and make as much profit or maximize their profits as much as possible. Some product life cycles are quite long, some are very, very short. Those that are good and those that have got good quality products and good marketing behind them should maximize the amount of time that they're making their most amount of money. And you also need to bear in mind that actually companies don't make money from the moment they start selling their products. Obviously, in the development, the manufacturing, or the designing, the development and the manufacture of their product, they've invested a lot of money. That'll be in designers, in manufacturing, in materials, all these sorts of things. They've spent a lot of money doing. So the first part of the product life cycle is not making money. They're just recouping their losses before they start becoming profitable. So companies need to actually plan out the life cycle to, as we said, to try and maximize how much money they can make. This can either be to do with new modifications, updates, that type of thing. Typically speaking, most people think of things like electronics, so as much as it pains me to say this, Apple do this quite well. If you think about like the iPod, how many iterations of the iPod have they been? So if you think of like the OG one with the actual scroll wheel, the touch, the video one to God knows where right now, and then iPhone 1 to iPhone, I don't even know what model we're on anymore. But they come out every 12 months, if that. Same with iPads. So all these sort of things where basically once their current model starts to sort of die down a little bit, they'll suddenly launch a new version of that, sort of keep that product life cycle going as long as possible. So actually, in reality, they've got a very, very long life cycle. So every time it starts to dip down, they'll quickly bring out another one and they'll sort of extend it out a little bit. Another company that's known for doing something like that quite well is Toyota. They've actually, a model Toyota Corolla, they've actually redesigned it 11 times in the last 50 years, and it just sort of keeps continuing to be used quite a lot. In recent times, it does happen quite a lot digitally with things like video games. So you think about like where they bring out updates, so things like on Grand Theft Auto. So if you look at the images, obviously we're still on the latest like Grand Theft Auto 5, which came out in 2013. That's still the most recent one, and they keep giving sort of updates to it. If you think things like FIFA or COD that they sort of bring out each time, or things like Fortnite or things like that, where they have to buy a physical copy of it or like a digital copy of it, or they'll sort of like bring a new like DLC that you can sort of like keep extending it and keep getting new products from it. So rather than bring out a brand new product, sort of like extending with add-ons basically. So the product life cycle, if you've done business studies, you've probably seen this sort of table before. So when I said there's like 4 or like 4.5 sort of stages to it, these are what they are. So you've got introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. No matter where you look in business or in product, you're probably going to have those same sort of headings. Okay, down the left hand side you've got your sales, and it sort of shows as you're going along where your sales will be at the most. So introduction, that's where you've just brought it into the market. We'll go through these in more detail in the next few slides. Brought it into the market, sales are low, and then as you start to grow and reach maturity, so this is like your peak of how much sales you're actually making until you start to decline. Product extension will be if you start bringing out modifications or updates or latest models to sort of try and extend that as much as possible. But product extension isn't, I don't know if you'd really class that as like a part of the product life cycle. It's sort of like an extension to try and like squeeze out as many sales as you actually physically can. So the introduction stage. So this is where you launch your brand new product. Oh, look at this brand new shiny thing that we've got. Here you've got a huge amount of publicity and you're trying to get as much hype around the product as you can do. So you might have like celebrity endorsements, loads of adverts on TVs, on like in cinemas, radio, that sort of thing. You're trying to show off how much better this brand new thing is. Look how shiny it is. It's so much better than the old version. This comes out because it can either be because there's like a demand for a new feature. So we've got like new battery life, or we've got this excellent new 3D feature, whatever it may be. But it's maybe because like technology push. So we've created this brand new thing no one's seen before. A big example of that technology push might be like video games. So like when Nintendo came up with the nunchucks, like when they did like the motion control, that was all to do with technology push rather than demand, because no one's expecting that, and suddenly everyone's like, oh wait, we can actually do like bowling or tennis in your front room. Sometimes it's a big flop. So things like Google Glasses, that's kind of died a death, and like 3D TVs, there's like massive hype around 3D TVs, and actually I don't think I know anyone that's got 3D TVs at this point. At this point, costs are still very, very high because you got to make your money back, okay? Because you're putting all this effort into not just making the thing, but now promoting it. So it takes a while to build everything up. There's not a lot of competition because you're brand new to the market. There's not a lot of like copycats going on. You have to create that demand for it and try and, as I say, build that hype up. Then you go into stage 2. So this is where, like, in your growth. So the product's on the market now. Your promotion's still going. You might be putting a little bit less into promotion because it's sort of word of mouth starts happening now as well. Sales start to grow up a little bit, and gradually people start to replace the old model. So typically, some people have to have the new thing as soon as the new thing is out. You see it all the time. It's like as soon as the new model, anything comes out, like console, car, phone, whatever it is, as soon as the new thing's out, someone has to have it. But most people in reality are sort of like, no, it's fine, I'll just wait. The price will come down a bit, or I'll wait till it breaks or it starts to not work as well, and I'll get the new thing. I'm trying to avoid naming an actual product here to sort of like show you it's for everything, no matter what sort of thing it may be. Costs start to get reduced because of the economies of scale, and when we've used that economies of scale term before, is that because you've invested in the manufacturing of the thing, you bought the machines and everything, so once you start selling, the price of making it becomes less and less because you've already owned the machinery to do it. Sales start to rise, you do start to become a little bit more profitable, although you're still not making loads and loads of money yet. Your public awareness is out there. You may start to see competition because other people will start seeing your product and think, actually, that's a good idea. Let's start copying it, but maybe putting their own little twist on it. So that's when you start having a bit of competition where the prices might start to come down a bit because, oh no, they brought out their version of this. So actually, there's a little bit of a betting war kind of thing. Then you got the maturity stage. So this is like at the top peak of your sales. This is where companies want to be in the maturity stage for as long as possible because this is where you're making all of your money. All right. Costs are at the lowest possible because production, that's up and running. You're not paying for new machinery. It's all done. It's all going on. You're not really paying for promotion anymore because it's out there. People know about your product. Prices tend to drop, but because you're not paying for promotion and thought, it doesn't really matter anymore. So, yeah, this is where companies really, the longer you can stay within this, the better you will be, and the more profit you make overall. And then you go into your saturation and decline. So this is where it starts to actually, sales have decreased. It can be quite a gradual thing, or it can be quite a sudden thing. What you can do here is companies will either, this is when, if they plan it out right, they'll bring out the latest model or they'll bring out the update. Just as they start to see a decline, they'll bring out the new model. So there's not like a dip, but not like a big dip. Or it might just be that you cut your losses and you move on. So I'm saying that there can be products that have got long life cycle and short life cycle. So we've talked about some of the long life cycle like iPods and those sorts of things, but you got short ones where there's like the really hyped products like fidget spinners or loom bands or those sort of things that are really, really popular for like a month and then they just disappear because they have a really, really, really short life cycle of it. It's really hyped and then just disappears into obscurity, never to be seen again. So how long does the life cycle last? So as we said, you got long and you got short ones, or you've even got medium ones. So there's a few things that can determine how long it lasts. So it could be there's a change in materials or technology. So it might be that we've developed a new material to make this from so it works better, or technology in that we've developed a new way to make the thing so it makes it cheaper so we can make it better that way. There may be a change in consumer demand. So it may be that there's people that take like electric cars and the fact that you need to have like charging stations for it, or the fact that people are more aware of like sustainability. There might be something that happens basically where there's a new consumer demand for something which might shorten a life cycle or it might extend it. Sales, obviously, because actually if sales start to drop, companies are quite cutthroat. They'll just cut the losses and go. What the product is, as I just mentioned, so you got like your Apple, iPod, your games, those things can be extended, whereas you've got those really short life cycles. I was about to talk about yo-yos there, but I don't imagine anyone knows about yo-yos, and I suddenly feel very old. And then also how technically complex a product is. Technology is a bit of a funny one because it can always, you run the risk of happening is things becoming obsolete. So if you're talking about, particularly like in IT and those sorts of things, technology moves so quickly that actually things tend to become obsolete, as in the newer technology is already out within 6 months, 12 months. And actually, if you're in work or you need to have the latest technology to be able to do what you need to do, you need to have the latest one. So actually that can result in you having to move on to the next product quite quickly. So it depends if the product's really, really dependent on being the latest in the technology of it. So a couple of examples of each life cycle. So these were taken online off an article I found around like 2019-20. So like introduction sort of stages sort of things. So we talked about like smart glasses. So again, we talked about the fact that like Google sort of like didn't really take off, but it might, for all we know, everyone loves Apple as much as I don't. Apple might bring out one and suddenly it's like the new exciting fighting thing again. Online healthcare and online education. So when I was updating this theory, I actually left this in because I thought it was quite interesting. Now that we're on year God knows what of lockdowns and COVID restrictions and all these sort of things, you now see quite a lot of like online education apps. So I see it all the time when I'm up watching cartoons in the morning with my daughter. There's loads and loads of like adverts for companies that do online education that are coming. So actually I'd argue that's probably moved out of introduction into growth quite easily. Then you got VR headsets, things like Oculus Rift. Again, that's probably bumping up a bit more from introduction into growth now. But you can see, so when this came out in 2012, this article, you can see that things now, you can see that they're starting to move along their life cycle. So growth stages, so you have got things that sort of, they've been in for a while, starting to become a bit more popular. Electric cars, you see it quite a lot now. You've even got like petrol stations that got like charging stations. Tesco's and Sainsbury's have got certain places that got charging stations. People having those charging stations put into their houses, that sort of thing. Internet of Things. If you've watched one of the previous videos, you'll know that is to do with basically having like smart appliances where everything's connected to the internet. So like your fridge, so you can see how much food you got in your fridge, or your oven, or like so you can like make sure you can order bits online without having to actually know you need it, that sort of thing. AirPods. I'd actually probably argue AirPods have probably moved up into the maybe maturity stage. Well, either way, I mean, everyone's got AirPods. You see it all the time now. I don't think I've seen anyone wearing actual normal like wired headphones for quite a while. And then organic foods. So that's becoming quite a big thing, particularly in the new year. You have like Veganuary, I think it's called, and those sorts of things. So there's all sorts of things about people who are more health conscious. And then maturity stage. So things like fuel cars, so petrol and diesel cars, that probably at the maturity, because they're not going to extend now, because we now know that obviously petrol at some point is going to start going down, because they've said they're going to stop making petrol cars at some point. TV like cable, so like Sky. I cancelled my Sky ages ago. Honestly, most of the time now, if you ask people what they're watching, it's either Netflix or Prime or YouTube for the most part. So you'd argue that actually Sky, BT, those sort of things are kind of, because you get like 300 channels and there's like nothing on any of them. So they're sort of being replaced by the on-demand sort of thing, and the fact that you can like binge watch a series in a day rather than having to wait every single week. Personal computers. So it might be the case, like I'm talking about like desktops, unless you're like into your gaming, that sort of thing. Obviously you've got laptops and things like that, but yeah, you can see that these are the things that are maybe going to start to fade down. They might get like extensions on them, but actually some of these, particularly I think like TV cable like Sky and that sort of thing, and petrol cars, they're definitely on the way out. And then decline, and this is going to make me feel very, very old. CDs and DVD players. I mean, I still buy CDs for my car, but never mind about that. So again, I'll feel very, very old in a second. So those actually replace floppy disks. You all probably know floppy disks as being the save icon on like Office like softwares. But CD and DVD, you just buy digital downloads now. Same with like computer games, landline phones, I'd be surprised if anyone has landline phones in their house, like a wired landline phone. Most of the time, it's like if you just have to fill in a form and it says, "Oh, what's your home number?" and you like just put your mobile number because I don't have a landline. You got a landline like phone line because you got the internet at home, but use my mobile. Keypad mobile phones or feature phones, smartphones, because that's basically saying that most phones that have got actual keypads on them, like the BlackBerry and that sort of thing, they're all pretty much gone. So they're still sort of in the market, but actually they're pretty much going to go anytime now. I think Sainsbury's actually said they are no longer selling CDs or like physical CDs or DVDs at all anymore. So hopefully from those, obviously, so I purposely didn't update this just so you can see. I did this in the theory video last year, and this is like an updated version, but I purposely left this so you can see actually that some of these have already started to move into the next stage of the product lifecycle. Okay, so what I want you to do now is pick 2 products, one that you consider to have quite a long life cycle and one that you think has quite a short life cycle. And can you map it out? So if it's like a longer one, when it starts to decline, can you then think about what did they do to then extend it? How long ago did it start? When it was introduced? So take like the iPod, for example. When did the iPod first come out? And then how long did it take for each model to start coming out, and how long they extended it for? Try and avoid using the iPod because I've just told you about it. And then a short one, this is the examples I gave, like the fidget spinners or the clicky cubes or those types of things as well. Again, try and think of your own examples, but if you can't, you can use those. But do have a little look online, see if you can find out how long they were in the market for and how long they were extended for as well. That is the end of product lifecycle. If you've got any questions, please let me know and I will get back to you.